Welcome to AK Anime Explainer. Today is explanation of Soul Land 3, Legend of the Dragon King Part 306. Without any delay, start explanation. Ever since he began cultivating, Old Tang had always been very helpful to him. The greatest assistance offered by Old Tang was on the Golden Dragon King seals. However, Old Tang frequently disappeared without reason. A scenario like this occasion where he was constantly continuing his guidance on Tang Wulin's cultivation was a first. Moreover, Tang Wulin felt like Old Tang seemed to be in a much better spirit ever since the boundless universe crystal had connected to that unknown place. Using my spirit as a source, and my spirit as spear. Tang Wulin sat in the cabin as he slowly waved his arm to sense the profoundness of time. 2 months quickly passed. This was because it was a deep-sea voyage in addition to the powerful 1000 Hola class. Even though they did encounter some powerful sea soul beasts, but they managed to stay safe. Recently, the submarine captain told Tang Wulin that they were about to arrive at the Do Spirit continent soon and the 1000 Hola class was prepared to begin surfacing. There was no secret passage capable of receiving 1000 Hola class in Do Spirit Empire, so they could only head towards the sea surface. Pooh, Tang Wulin exhaled. The slightly warped radiance in his surroundings vanished soon after. He had finally managed to touch the edge of time control after 2 months. The more he got to comprehend time, the more he could sense the vast profoundness of it. It was truly worthy of being on par with the profoundness of space. Old Tang said that he would pass on some spatial-type spear technique as long as Tang Wulin could express 10% of Millennium Cloud's power. The collaboration of both was sufficient to endlessly benefit him. Tang Wulin was not in a rush for that because he understood that the principle of greed is destructive. He would focus on mastering the Millennium Cloud first before anything else. 2 months of time did not cause too much desolation for the Soul Masters. Tang Wulin contacted his companions for a meeting after he ended his cultivation. Their lineup for this trip was considered rather huge. Other than Tang Sect's mecha troop, there was Tang Wulin's Blood Dragon unit, the Shrek 7 monsters, and the Holy Spirit Dolor personnel accompanied them. Ever since learning the fact that Yunming's soul still existed, Holy Spirit Dolor seemed to be in a much better spirit now. Tang Wulin did not know how the amorous Dolor had managed to persuade Holy Spirit Dolor to stay calm and wait for the exchange of Atlas Dolor's soul. However, judging by the situation now, the Holy Spirit Dolor's aura felt much better than the previous deathly stillness. Tang Wulin could not help thinking that Senior Yunming was truly a chick magnet as he recalled about amorous Dolor's mention of Heavenly Phoenix Dolor, Dark Phoenix Dolor, and Atlas Dolor's story. It seemed like every woman that loved him exceedingly and wholeheartedly. However, he did not find himself envious of this, for he had always loved only that one person since the beginning. Are we finally going ashore? I can't keep down the food in the submarine anymore. Let's go have a good meal after we reach ashore, Ruhang said in an ostentatious manner. Body Sect's cultivation had an extremely harsh requirement for nutrition. This was the reason why Ruhang and Tang Wulin's teacher Body Dolor was a good chef. On the other hand, the submarine was, albeit well equipped, it was still lacking in scrumptious meals. Tang Wulin said, "We're about to go ashore really soon. Mecha troop shall remain in the submarine as planned. There's no rush to go ashore yet. The main teams are Blood Dragon Unit, our people from Shrek, and Tang Sect's representative diplomatic corps. Our visit to Do Spirit and Star Luo empires is a high secret. Be careful everyone and work in a team. As the leader of this diplomatic corps, it was Tang Wulin's first time to complete such important mission. He was feeling slightly nervous in his heart. After all, Do Spirit Empire was a completely unfamiliar world to him. He was not completely aware of what he was about to face here. He had already memorized the information about the Do Spirit Empire, but there would still be some differences between information and reality. The group of people nodded in succession before they engaged in a discussion over the details. The submarine had already begun surfacing at present. The surfacing involved a process while a brand new continent had emerged before them. It was until the submarine floated to the water surface when the air interchange system ventilated the submarine with fresh, moist air that carried a tinge of the sea. The group of people could not help feeling disoriented, as if a lifetime had passed. The voyage took 2 full months and brought them to an unknown place, so it genuinely felt rather peculiar. The secret trip this time and the negotiations with Do Spirit Empire earlier were all carried out by Tang Sect's branch in Do Spirit Empire. Thus, even the Do Spirit Empire's government was unaware of their arrival time. The spot where the submarine surfaced was 50 nautical miles away from the shore. This was a safe distance. Moreover, the location where the submarine docked was not an important port or pier of the Do Spirit continent. Tang Wulin was not very familiar with the technology in the submarine, but he could clearly sense the obvious energy wave that was unleashed to the outside from it. It should be something that was similar to an interference wave that could shield detection from all sorts of radars to a certain level. The more he learned about Tang Sect, the more Tang Wulin could feel the incomparably impressive construct of the #1 sect on the continent that shocked the entire continent for 20,000 years. Only a true high-ranking personnel of Tang Sect would know the extent of Tang Sect's abilities. Relatively speaking, Shrek Academy was stationed only in Shrek City. Once Shrek City was destroyed, the situation became very dire. However, Shrek Academy had its advantages too. Its students were all over the world. Unless one could recover Shrek Academy's original archives, no one would know how many Shrek Academy's students actually held important posts. They could already see the grey-black shoreline in the distance. The tide was not considered too large at present. Behind them was a stretch of boundless sea with surging torrents, while a stretch of the unfamiliar continent was right before them. Tang Wulin felt as his heart rate had accelerated at present. It felt as if he was approaching his parents in the unseen world. It had been more than a decade since his parents left. Such a long time had already passed. On the other hand, Tang Wulin had depended on himself for everything for the past decade, just like his father had said. He took one step at a time. He continued to advance and elevated himself with great efforts regardless of the hardships and difficulties he faced. He was not striving for power for himself, but even more so he could save his parents one day. On the other hand, he was getting closer and closer to saving his parents at this moment. How could he not be overwhelmed with feelings? His heart was filled with anticipation at present. He too believed that he had the ability to save his parents. As for SpiritPagoda, he could not be certain if his parents' captive was related to them. His priority was to save his parents before anything else. Soon, a middle-aged man dressed in military uniform without any military ranks approached. He softly said, "Sect Master, we've already received the corresponding signal to disembark." "Good." Tang Wulin nodded. Disembark. Streams of silhouettes swept across the submarine. Each of them unleashed their battle armors and spread open their battle armor wings as they flew toward the shore. Tang Sect's mecha troop temporarily remained on the submarine. They would slip into Do Spirit continent later to where people from Tang Sect would correspond to them. When there was a need, they would come to Tang Wulin's side at any time. Tang Wulin's group of people arrived on the shore, which also signified their first landing on this continent. The people from Tang Sect's Do Spirit Empire branch were already waiting there since earlier. There were only 7 of them, led by a rather common-looking middle-aged man. He had a medium-sized body, mediocre appearance, extremely plain attire, and a weathered look. This was supposed to be the rather traditional attire for Do Spirit Continent. He walked in quick strides upon seeing Tang Wulin and his group of people retracting their wings and land on the ground. He respectfully said, "I'm the person in charge of Tang Sect's Do Spirit Empire branch, Li Yunjia. Pleased to meet you, Sect Master." Tang Wulin replied with a smile, "Thank you, Hall Master Li." Li Yunjia made an inviting gesture at Tang Wulin. "Sect Master, please follow me. We shall leave this place." As he was speaking, he turned around and walked away as he led them away without introducing the others. Tang Wulin had no idea and followed behind Hall Master Li. Tang Wulin could sense that he was a greater expert than a hyper-doluor from the aura he released. With his soul power cultivation base, he was still unable to completely gauge this person's cultivation base. Tang Sect was truly a place where people with unusual abilities were found. At the same time, Tang Wulin could see that this person was slightly discontented with him being the sect master. He must have sensed that Tang Wulin only had a soul saint's cultivation base. The amorous Doluo Zongxin had told him about Li Yunjia before. He was a Tang Sect elder. As the person in charge of Tang Sect in Do Spirit Empire, his status was equivalent to Tang Sect's inner Hall Master. He had worked for more than 30 years in Do Spirit Empire and was an influential man in the Tang Sect. His ability and strength were very high. Tang Sect had a few main sources of income. Among them were the making and selling of soul weapons, the research and development of soul technology, and control over resources and their distribution. Due to the scarcity of resources on the Doluo continent, the same rare metal costed much more on Doluo continent as compared to Do Spirit continent and Star Luo continent. This was also the main reason to why the Doluo continent wanted to wage a war. Naturally, Tang Sect purchased many of its resources from Do Spirit and Star Luo continents. The reason why Tang Sect was held in high regard in Do Spirit Empire and Star Luo Empire was that the Tang Sect had brought soul technology to their continents. This activity had been found out by the Doluo Federation through some means. However, Tang Sect had done all its technological research and development with its own resources. Hence, the Federation could not make any move against them from the legal side of events. Moreover, Tang Sect and Shrek Academy were of the same breadth and branches. Even the Federation was wary of making any rash moves against the coalition of these two great organizations. All this had contributed to the detonation of Godkiller-ranked fixed soul ammunitions on them. Naturally, Tang Sect would never sell all its latest technologies that it had developed to Star Luo and Do Spirit empires. Tang Sect and Shrek Academy were staunch believers of peace. With the surplus resources of the Star Luo Empire and Do Spirit Empire, once their technological advancement was on par with or even surpassed the Doluo Federations, it was not impossible for them to wage war against the Doluo Federation. After all, these two empires had originated from Doluo continent. The rulers of the two empires were constantly thinking about ways to strike back at the Doluo Federation. All those factors had given rise to the delicate relationship between Tang Sect and the two continents. They were close partners with a limited partnership. The two empires had no choice but to rely on Tang Sect, but at the same time they also wished to gain more from Tang Sect. Tang Wulin's current mission for this visit was to provide the two empires with enough weapons as Tang Sect's sect master so that they could intimidate the Doluo Federation. That would deter the Doluo Federation from taking any rash actions. However, he had to go about it carefully as well. He could not allow them to actually go to war just because they had the weapons. Zongxin told Tang Wulin that Li Yunjia was powerful, he was headstrong. If he wanted to put him to the greatest use, he must first obtain his sincere submission. Without a doubt, this was also the first hurdle Tang Wulin had encountered since he became the Tang sect master. Two large soul cars were already waiting for them by the road. Tang Wulin and the other Shrek 7 monsters followed Li Yunjia and some members of the Tang Sect's Do Spirit Empire branch into the first car. The others boarded the second car. Li Yunjia watched as the others silently went into the car. He did not make any moves and nobody said anything. His gaze flitted here and there before finally falling onto Tang Wulin. Sect Master, we're departing now. It'll take about 5 hours for us to get to Heaven Do City from here. During this time, you can ask me anything about whatever it is that you want to know. He mentioned that Tang Wulin could ask, but he did not report anything of his own accord. The pride in his heart was evident in these small details. All right. Tang Wulin was indifferent. He was not angered by Li Yunzhe's attitude. After all, he was too young. If he put himself in Li Yunzhe's shoes and he was the one facing such a young sect master, the first thing he would question was whether such a sect master was dependable or not. However, Tang Wulin did not ask Li Yunzhe about anything. Instead, he cast his gaze outside the window and enjoyed the scenery. They traveled on a dirt road for about 20 minutes before they went on an actual road. The road was not too broad. The land on both sides of the road was undeveloped. Vegetation formed uneven covers across the lands and this made it seem desolate. Some information regarding Do Spirit Continent surfaced in Tang Wulin's mind. Compared to Star Luo Continent, the Do Spirit Continent had indeed been developed earlier. 10,000 years ago, the descendants of the Do Spirit Empire had migrated here. During those times, the descendants were at the end of their ropes. It was said that the survivors who actually made it onto this continent numbered less than 10,000. The number of resources they brought with them could be counted. More importantly, they did not have enough talents. This was starkly different from Star Luo Empire's case. The Star Luo Empire had discovered Star Luo Continent and migrated there of their own accord in millions. That was why, even though Star Luo had developed much later than Do Spirit Continent, it had developed at a much faster pace as compared to Do Spirit Continent. After all, the number of resources and talents that the Star Luo Empire brought over to the continent was much more than Do Spirit Empire. The current state of affairs was proof of the differences in their starting points. Among the 3 continents, the Do Spirit Continent was the least developed continent. It was also the smallest in size. This meant that there would be more unexploited resources on this continent. Tang Wulin looked outside the window as he quietly pondered about these things. The atmosphere in the car seemed gloomy. Li Yunzhe was seated beside him. He felt slightly shocked that this young sect master seemed capable of standing his ground. When he received the order from the amorous Doluo Zongxin back then, he had fiercely retorted. He never thought that a young man in his 20s could lead such an important mission. However, under the amorous Doluo's strong pressure, he had no choice but to follow his orders. However, he was still somewhat negative regarding Tang Wulin's visit. This young man before him was flawless in appearance. He had a big body and deep eyes on his handsome face. Even with his picky taste, if this young man was a son-in-law, any father-in-law would have been satisfied with his looks alone. However, Tang Wulin's aura implied that he only had a soul saint's cultivation base. That was slightly weaker than Li Yunzhe's initial guess. He had thought that such a person must have been a genius to be able to become the sect master at such a young age, which meant that he must have had a certain rank of cultivation base. However, when he actually met Tang Wulin, this sect master was younger than he expected. Naturally, his cultivation base was much weaker. He was but a soul saint. Just when he was observing Tang Wulin suddenly turned around to look at him with a smile. Hall Master Li, what's the stance of the Do Spirit Empire's officials regarding the war that's about to erupt? I want to know the details. Do they have any countermeasures? With the possibility of facing the planet's greatest forces attack, it was only natural for the Do Spirit Empire to be flustered. Even if while they were flustered, information on any other reactions they made was extremely important for Tang Wulin's current visit. This was because such information would determine their attitude towards the Do Spirit Empire in their attempt to achieve the objectives as an envoy. Li Yunzhe replied, the royal household didn't believe it at first when they received this news. After all, they had been under peaceful conditions for a long time. I'll describe the overall situation of Do Spirit Empire as simply as I can. There are about 26 million people in the Do Spirit Empire, which is about 1/10 of the Do Luo continent's population and 1/3 of Star Luo continents. Their standing army is 400,000 men strong. That includes 100,000 logistics, supplies, and support personnel. There are 10 main combat army corps, including 2 navy fleets. The level of their equipment is starkly different from the Dolor continent. According to our estimation, the amount of mechas from the 3 Do Spirit Empire armies combined is only about 10,000 units. They have fewer large soul weapons. If the war really starts, even a mothership fleet from the Dolor Federation can finish the Do Spirit Empire off in a short amount of time. This 300,000-man strong Do Spirit Empire's army is only as powerful as a 50,000-men strong elite army on Dolor continent. Tang Wulin asked, does the Do Spirit Empire have any advantages then? Li Yinja dryly replied, all they have are favorable climate and geographical advantage. Compared to the forces on Dolor Federation, they know these lands better and that's all they have. So, based on what I know, their strategy is to allow the Federal Army to enter Do Spirit continent and engage them on the continent. This will buy them time during which they'll attempt to cut off the Federal Army's supplies and fight a war of attrition. Currently, there are 2 different voices within the Do Spirit Empire's army. One of them is of the same view as I've just told you. The other one proposes to perish together with the Federal Army. Of course, there's another weaker voice which proposes to peacefully talk this out. Actually, if the Do Spirit Empire wasn't a monarchy, a majority of them would want to surrender. They know about the difference between the Dolor Federation and themselves very well. This substantial gap can't be made up by superficial elements. Tang Wulin had a slight frown. How's the relationship between the Tang sect and the royal family? Li Yunja glanced at Tang Wulin. We're the largest supplier of weapons to the Do Spirit Empire. Practically all the high-end weapons they have been bought from us. However, to prevent the acceleration of Do Spirit Empire's technological advancement which will quickly deplete the available resources, we have been dealing with them conservatively and rhythmically over the past few thousand years. So although we're held in high regard in the Do Spirit Empire, the royal family is actually still slightly dissatisfied with us. They have high hopes for your visit this time. They hope to obtain enough weapons to fight against the Dolor Federation. Hence, it's a simple task of us handing over the weapons for them. However, it'll be slightly difficult to prevent this war from happening. Tang Wulin nodded. I understand. Is there a place called Spirit Wave City near Heaven Do City? Yes, it's a small city. Li Yunja looked at Tang Wulin with shock. He was puzzled by the fact that Tang Wulin would be focusing on a city like Spirit Wave City. Then let's head to the Spirit Wave City first, Tang Wulin said determinedly. Li Yunja frowned. He could not refrain himself from asking, what for? The royal family of the Do Spirit Empire has been notified of your visit. Shouldn't we communicate with them first? Tang Wulin shook his head. No, let's head to Spirit Wave City first. Li Yunja tightly knitted his brows. He wanted to say something, but he held his tongue back in the end. He instructed the driver in front. Head to Spirit Wave City. The atmosphere was slightly awkward. Li Yunja looked at Tang Wulin. He thought about it and finally asked, Sect Master, can you tell me the reason as to why you want to go to Spirit Wave City? Are we going to ignore the royal family? Tang Wulin replied, I have something to attend to in Spirit Wave City. Besides, I didn't know that we were supposed to meet the royal family right away. Let them wait. Naturally, Li Yunja could sense Tang Wulin's dissatisfaction with the itinerary which he had planned without consulting him. However, Li Yunja's heart was filled with scorn. A big temper for such a young man. Tang Wulin faintly smiled. Sometimes, waiting for someone can really be torturing. Don't you think so, Hall Master Li? Li Yunja said solemnly, Sect Master, I don't think we should do this given the circumstances. If you insist on doing this and we find ourselves in the bad books of the Do Spirit Empire, it'll make our future endeavors very difficult. Tang Wulin said, I don't think we're the anxious ones here. You've said that Do Spirit Empire is a monarchy. The greatest worry for a monarchy is for its legacy to end. Hence, they won't compromise with the Federation no matter what. They need us way more than the Star Luo Empire needs us. Which also means that they are the ones who are asking us for help. Why should we be in a hurry? Let them wait. Li Yunja deeply looked at Tang Wulin and did not say another word. He instead cast his gaze outside the window to display his dissatisfaction. However, he did not oppose Tang Wulin's plan. Tang Wulin naturally had selfish reasons to go to Spirit Wave City. Rescuing his parents was too important for him, and making the Do Spirit Empire's royal family wait was also a part of his initial plan. If they wanted to gain sufficient advantage in the negotiation, the first thing they had to do was to gain leverage. Before the Do Spirit and Star Luo empires, Tang sect could not appear hasty. Otherwise, there would be no room for negotiation. The car fell silent again. Tang Wulin shut his eyes to rest his spirits. He stopped looking at the scenery outside. He did not know why, but something about the Do Spirit Empire gave him a nostalgic feeling. It was as if something familiar was lingering around him, and this familiarity felt very kind. Father, Mother, is this the feeling that you're giving me? Spirit Wave City was only less than 100 kilometers away from Do Spirit Empire's capital, the Heaven Do City. 4 hours later, they arrived in the city. Spirit Wave City was filled with antique-style buildings as far as the eye could see and was relatively simpler. From the style of the architecture, it was noticeable that the style here was similar to Do Luo Continent's Heaven Do City. It was clear that they shared the same roots. Spirit Wave City had its own city walls, a feature which Tang Wulin found strange. Practically every city in the Do Luo Federation had foregone the concept of city walls. They were something that could only be found in ancient manuscripts. He did not expect to see them in the Do Spirit Empire. It was evident from this point that the Do Spirit Empire liked Do Luo Continent's traditions very much. There were even buildings built with the same architectural style as the ancient Do Luo Continent's buildings. Spirit Wave City was a small city after all. Tall buildings were a rare sight, and the average building was no taller than 6 stories. However, the streets were very clean and refreshing. It made them feel as if they had traveled back in time to an ancient Do Luo continent. What a small and beautiful city! How can such a city be trampled by war? Father, Mother, you hear? When he thought about this, Tang Wulin asked Li Yunjia, who was sitting at his side, Hall Master Li, can you arrange for some accommodation close to the Spirit Pagoda? I have something to attend to. He and Li Yunjia had not talked throughout the journey after their little exchange. You want to stay near Spirit Pagoda? Li Yunjia frowned. He was already unhappy that Tang Wulin had insisted on coming to Spirit Wave City first. After all, he had made an appointment with Do Luo Empire's royal family. When Tang Wulin said that he wanted to stay near Spirit Pagoda, he could not take it anymore. Sect Master, we have a delicate relationship with Spirit Pagoda. I don't think it's appropriate for us to do so. He wore an extremely sour expression when he said this. Tang Wulin replied, I'll conceal my identity. I'll have to trouble Hall Master Li to get this arranged. Li Yunjia was silent for a while. All right. He had held his tongue in the end. As the person in charge of Tang Sect's Do Spirit Empire branch, it was the least he could do. Sect Master, do you know that Spirit Pagoda is most likely involved in the attack on our headquarters, in which Shrek City was also destroyed? Spirit Pagoda is our enemy. Li Yunjia could bear it, but that did not mean that his subordinates could bear it. A middle-aged man could not refrain himself from interjecting. Tang Wulin turned to look at him. Of course. I'm aware of all of this. The middle-aged man responded. And you still want to stay near Spirit Pagoda? Spirit Pagoda has a formidable force at their disposal, and Spirit Wave City is their territory. Don't you see how much that'll affect our plans if we're found out? Shrek Academy has been destroyed, so has our headquarters, and you want to stay close to them. Don't tell me you wish to discuss a partnership with them. Even if it's for Shrek Academy, I don't think I can give them an explanation. Oh? You're from Shrek Academy as well? Tang Wulin was intrigued. That's right. I graduated from Shrek Academy's inner court and joined Tang sect before I came to Do Spirit Continent, the middle-aged man proudly said. It was clear that he took great pride in his identity as a Shrek Academy's inner court disciple. If that's the case, do you have any idea about who you're talking to? Xie casually said. He was seated behind Tang Wulin. The middle-aged man turned to look at him. Brat, what do you mean? Xie sighed. I don't think anybody follows the Academy's rules anymore. I see that you're not one to keep the Academy's rules after your graduation. What did you say? The middle-aged man was immediately enraged. You dare mock me? Xie stood up and leaned against Tang Wulin's seat as he dryly said, How have I mocked you? I'm also from Shrek Academy. The only difference is that I'm a member of the current Shrek 7 monsters. At the same time, I'm also a member of the Sea God Pavilion. I wonder if your actions toward me just now can be regarded as disrespecting higher-ranking personnel. The middle-aged man was stunned. He had a Soul Dolor's cultivation base. He incredulously looked at Xie. You're a Sea God Pavilion's resident elder? The Academy has really, although he did not finish his sentence, the meaning in his words was obvious. He clearly wanted to say something along the lines of, has the Academy fallen to such a state that someone like you can become a resident elder? Xie was indignant. He turned to look at Tang Wulin. Big brother, the Academy is truly done for. Look at this, he has the gall to speak like this in your face. How are we supposed to gather the Academy's graduates in the future? It seems that rebuilding the Academy will be an arduous task with a long road. Li Yunjia could sense that there was more to it apparently. He could not help but ask, Sect Master, you related to Shrek Academy as well? Xie said leisurely, the person before you isn't only the Tang Sect Master. He's also the current leader of the Shrek 7 monsters and the Sea God Pavilion's Pavilion Master as well. He's not only representing the Tang Sect, but Shrek Academy too. Although the Academy has been destroyed, we believe that the Do Spirit and the Star Luo Empires still recognize our status. Upon hearing him, a chill ran down Li Yunjia's spine. He looked at Tang Wulin in a different light. The status of the Sea God Pavilion's Pavilion Master was on par with the Tang Sect's Dolor Hall's Hall Master. The previous Pavilion Master, the Atlas Dolor Yunming, was also regarded as the greatest person on the continent. Since he was able to become his successor and be recognized by the Tang Sect, this young man who looked to be in his 20s must be powerful indeed. Yunjia, do you still remember me? The person who was wearing a large cloak lifted her hood to reveal her face. The face was remarkably beautiful, but the hair was silvery white. When she revealed her face, the members of the Tang Sect's Do Spirit Empire branch were stunned. She was truly beautiful. Her hair color was albeit bizarre. When Li Yunjia saw her, he quivered a little. However, his eyes were quickly filled with incredulity. Your Excellency, the Holy Spirit Dolor, his voice was shaking. That's right. It's me. A faint smile appeared on Yoli's face. Xie's right, Wulin is Tang Sect Master, and our Shrek Sea God Pavilion's Pavilion Master. I can vouch for his identity. Li Yunjia suddenly stood up excitedly from his seat. He walked up to the Holy Spirit Dolor, who sat in the middle of the car, and knelt down on one knee. Your Excellency, Yunjia is here to pay his respect. When the people saw this, they were startled, especially those from the Tang Sect. Li Yunjia was a frequent guest of honor at the royal family's table in the Do Spirit Empire. He had knelt before the white-haired beauty which even the Do Spirit Empire's emperor could not make him do. As a Hyper-Dolor, he represented the Tang Sect and held a high office. Even though the white-haired lady was a title Dolor, he was not obligated to kneel. Yoli said with a slight awkwardness, What are you doing? Stand up, quick. However, Li Yunjia did not stand up. Instead, he was sobbing. It's been 30 years since we last met. Your Excellency, you've saved Yunjia's life. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't be here today. Please allow me to say this. You've not only saved me but my family as well. You've given us the grace of rebirth. We've kept a memorial tablet of you in our home. Your Excellency, your hair, what happened? Yoli smiled bitterly. It became like this after Yunming left. Get up, quick. Everyone's watching, this is unbecoming. As she said this, she waved her arm and a surge of gentle energy brought him up to his feet. Li Yunjia stood there in reverence. Your Excellency, I didn't know that you're here as well. Yunjia has committed an unforgivable sin. Yoli smiled dryly. I can see that you're proud as ever. Wu Lin's leading this time, not me. Just follow what he says. He's the successor who was selected by Yun Ming, the heartless Dolor, the amorous Dolor, and myself. We believe that he has the ability. Besides, he's also the future for both Shrek and the Tang sect. Please give him your full support. Yoli was being quite stern. Beads of sweat appeared on Yunja's forehead and his face paled. He hastily returned to Tang Wulin and gave him a salute reverently. Sect Master. Tang Wulin smiled. He stopped him from bowing. Hall Master Li, we're all one family. Don't you worry, you can rest assured that I'll focus on the interests of the Tang sect and Shrek Academy. I believe that you've worked hard in the Do Spirit Empire as well. We'll not dwell too much on niceties. Time reveals a man's heart. I think it applies to both of us, don't you think? Li Yunja straightened his back and looked deeply at Tang Wulin. Don't worry, Sect Master. I'll arrange our accommodations immediately. This young man who was a mere soul saint gave him many surprises. Just how outstanding was he to be chosen by so many great experts? Li Yunja did not understand, but he remained obedient to the Holy Spirit Dolor Yoli. In his life, this Dolor had made a huge impact which made him into who he was now. Many years ago, when his family was in danger, the Holy Spirit Dolor who happened to be passing by saved his family in the nick of time. She also healed his child's illness. He clearly remembered the chorus of hymns which accompanied the advent of the Holy Spirit Dolor. In his heart, she was the equivalent of a deity. Even though he was now a hyper-Dolor, his devotion toward her had not changed. When he saw Yoli's white hair, he was greatly disturbed. Although Yoli had brushed it off nonchalantly, he could imagine the immense pain the Holy Spirit Dolor must have endured. At present, his only wish was to aid her as much as he could. If she wanted him to listen to Tang Wulin, then he would do just that. At the same time, he wanted to see for himself just how skilled his sect master was. Tang Wulin and the others checked into a vintage-looking hotel. Due to the Spirit Wave City being in the SpiritPagoda's territory, Li Yunja had to make special arrangements. They entered the hotel at different times and in small groups, so they would not attract attention. Li Yunja even put on a disguise. He was quite a well-known person in the Do Spirit Empire. If anyone with ill intention saw him at the hotel, the SpiritPagoda would be sure to know. Sect Master, do you have any other requests? Li Yunja asked respectfully after he escorted Tang Wulin to his room. His reverence was genuine, and his initial perfunctory responses were gone. Tang Wulin asked Li Yunja, All Master Li, are you familiar with the Spirit Wave City? Li Yunja replied, Quite. Is there anything you need me to do? Tang Wulin said, Can you wait for me for a while? The reason I came to the Spirit Wave City is to look for two persons. I'll try to sense if they are here. If they are, I may need your help to take me to the place. Soon after, Tang Wulin sat cross-legged on the sofa. He shut his eyes and focused his mind. He slowly spread his spiritual power outward with his body as the center. He was familiar with his parents' auras. His spirit domain covered a wide area. Without a doubt, using his spiritual power to search for his parents was ideal. Li Yunja stood beside Tang Wulin. When he felt the spiritual shockwave released from Tang Wulin's body, huge billowy waves immediately raged within him. Is this the spirit domain's spiritual power? As a hyper-Dolor, he naturally had a potent spiritual power cultivation base. He also knew that the higher the rank, the more important a soul master's spiritual power cultivation base was. Hence, he had been working hard to cultivate his spiritual power. He hoped that it would help him attain higher ranks in the future. He was no stranger to the spirit domain's spiritual power. It was a spiritual rank every limit Dolor possessed. It was representative of an ultimate expert. He never expected this seven-ringed cultivation-based sect master to have such a terrifying level of spiritual rank. What shocked him even more was when Tang Wulin released his spiritual power. He had the faint feeling as if he had merged as one with the entire world. He seemed to be a part of the room, yet he seemed to be a component of the air. If he closed his eyes, even with his cultivation base, he could not sense that Tang Wulin was present. It was particularly scary. He had only felt such a sensation before from the heartless Doluo and the amorous Doluo. It seemed like Tang Wulin had merged with his surroundings better than the two Doluos. It meant that his understanding of the world's order and secrets was even deeper. For a young man in his 20s to understand the secrets of the entire plane, how was it possible? Of course, Tang Wulin could not do it. In truth, he had no need to do so. He was favored by the Lord of the Plane. Hence, he had achieved such ranks without having to attain enlightenment first. It was his most powerful attribute. Li Yunjie took a deep breath, sobered up and stood guard over Tang Wulin. Although he did not know what Tang Wulin was looking for, he believed that a person with such a spiritual cultivation base could not have the strength of 7 rings only. It was no wonder he was able to become the current sect master. It was intimidating to think that he had achieved such a spiritual rank in his 20s. Li Yunjie had never come across such an achievement. When he sensed Tang Wulin's spirit domain, he was more amazed than when he learned about him being the Tang sect master and the Sea God Pavilion's pavilion master. After all, in the Soul Master's realm, strength was the absolute measure of a person. Tang Wulin spread forth his spiritual power, and he could sense the entire hotel. Then, he quickly disseminated his power far away. He sensed everything in the surroundings as he searched for the familiar auras. He believed they were his biological parents. Even though it had been a decade, he should be able to find them still. The hotel was very near to the Spirit Wave City's Spirit Pagoda. If his parents were inside the Spirit Pagoda branch, he would definitely be able to sense them. Time passed. When his spiritual power had covered an area of 10 kilometers in diameter, Tang Wulin faced a bottleneck. It was the limit of the range of his spiritual power. A search of this large an area strained his brain and sea of spirit. He could not maintain the state for too long. None. His parents' auras could not be detected, nor did he pick up any feelings that were connected with his bloodline. Why was this happening? Could it be that teacher Mang Qian was wrong? When Tang Wulin reopened his eyes, he was filled with exhaustion and a sense of helplessness. If his parents were not in the Spirit Wave City, the chances of finding them on the entire continent would be the same as searching for a needle in a haystack. The bigger issue was that he did not have the means to contact Mang Qian directly, which meant that he could not obtain additional information. That was why Tang Wulin had to confirm with Mang Qian before he came here. It seemed everything had been in vain. There were no sign of his parents. Tang Wulin's emotions had been pent up all this while. You didn't find them? Li Yunjie knew something was wrong from Tang Wulin's expression. Tang Wulin nodded and asked Li Yunjie, Hall Master Li, do you know of any secret laboratories in the Spirit Pagoda? Are there any in the Spirit Wave City? Secret laboratories? For weapons research, asked Li Yunjie. Tang Wulin replied, I'm not sure, but I think it's likely that they are doing research on weapons. Li Yunjie said without hesitation, there is. I can be sure there's at least one such laboratory in the Spirit Wave City. Actually, the Tang sect has also been looking for this laboratory. We infiltrated their ranks to find out what the Spirit Pagoda is up to. Apart from the Tang sect, the Spirit Pagoda is the only other organization from whom the Do Spirit Empire buys various kinds of resources. Also, because they control the spirit souls, they are also held in high regard in the Do Spirit Empire. They are not inferior to us in that regard. If it's regarding soul masters, they have greater control over them compared to us. So, where's their secret laboratory? Do you've a clue? Tang Wulin got excited. Just because he was unable to locate it with his spiritual power did not mean that it did not exist. If there was such a secret place, it was highly probable that they had some kind of anti-spiritual detection facility in place. Li Yunjie replied, I can pretty much confirm that this secret lab is inside the Spirit Wave City. However, we're not sure of its exact location. The Spirit Pagoda has kept its secret well guarded. However, based on our deduction, the most probable locations for the lab are within the Spirit Pagoda, or below the Spirit Pagoda branch. Those places are the safest. Tang Wulin was hit with a sudden realization. If it's underground, naturally, I won't be able to locate it with my spiritual powers. Hall Master Lee, I don't think I should keep this from you. I'm actually searching for my parents. When I was 10 years old, my parents were abducted by some mysterious people. They were brought to the Do Spirit continent to conduct some research. They were only allowed to contact home occasionally. I only found out recently that they are here. Most likely, they are in the secret lab run by the Spirit Pagoda. Hence, before the negotiations commence, I want to rescue them first. This is a personal matter. Hence, I won't use the Tang sect's or the Academy's resources. I'll look for them with a few of my friends. However, I hope that you can assist us in terms of information. He laid bare his objective for being there. He could not do without Li Yunji's help in his search for his parents in a foreign land where he was a stranger. After listening to Tang Wulin's story, Li Yunji was stunned at first, but he quickly came back to his senses. He nodded slowly. I understand. I wasn't expecting this. Don't worry, Sect Master. I'll think of something. Actually, we've also been searching to infiltrate the secret lab. According to our intel, the lab is most probably doing research on special weapons equipment relating to Soul Masters. I don't know the details. But if it's something the Spirit Pagoda puts a lot of effort into, it's definitely something extraordinary. I'll contact my people and notify you as soon as I've anything. I'll leave it to you then. Tang Wulin sighed inwardly. It was a personal matter after all. The main reason Li Yunji agreed to help him was because of the Holy Spirit Dolor. Li Yunji was very efficient. He had returned to Tang Wulin's room at dusk. We have a contact within the Spirit Pagoda. We can enter the Spirit Pagoda by disguising as him. He's currently an executive officer. We're now positive there's a secret venue below the Spirit Pagoda branch, but he doesn't have the clearance to enter that place. Hence, he's not sure what it's like, but it's highly possible that it's the secret lab you're looking for. Tang Wulin's eyes brightened. That's great. Li Yunji continued. He has drawn a map. We know the approximate location of the entrance, but he doesn't have the clearance to go there. You can disguise yourself as him to infiltrate the Spirit Pagoda to locate that place. Needless to say, there'll be a certain degree of risk. Tang Wulin nodded. How's the Spirit Pagoda's strength? Li Yunji replied, very powerful. Because the Heaven Do city is our territory, we're still stronger than the Spirit Pagoda overall. However, they are more secretive than us. Hence, we can't tell their true strength. From what I know, within the Spirit Pagoda's headquarters in the Do Spirit Empire, there are at least 5 experts of title Dolor rank and above, and more than 2 Hyper Duluos. Also, they are under the protection of many Soul Master experts. Their internal defense system is also superb. That's what the Spirit Pagoda is skilled at. Hence, if we're discovered, there'll be no way out. Tang Wulin said, I understand. Let's plan this in detail. We'll do our best to infiltrate the Spirit Pagoda's headquarters. Please give me the information on this person. I'll learn to mimic him. All right. Spirit Wave City. Top level of the Spirit Pagoda branch. Every level of the Spirit Pagoda was expansive. Amidst the spacious lobby, there was a large round table. Encircling the table sat the high-ranking officials of the Spirit Pagoda's Do Spirit Empire branch. The leader was an old man who looked to be in his 60s. He was neat-looking and sat with his back straight. He had the natural talent of looking stern without actually being so. There were 6 others. These 7 were collectively called the 7 Great Magnates of the Do Spirit Empire's Spirit Pagoda. Branch Pagoda Master, what do you mean when you said the headquarters is sending someone important? Don't they trust us? Or are they here to supervise us during the upcoming war? We've to, at least, appear neutral. We can't be too obvious. If the Federation can't control the Do Spirit Empire, we'll be in trouble, said a middle-aged man who was seated on the right. The Branch Pagoda Master who sat on the right-hand seat dryly said, Don't tell me that you actually think that the Do Spirit Empire can hold off the Federation's battleships. What's the status of Do Spirit Empire's military? Of course it's impossible. Even with the addition of the Star Luo Empire, it's still insufficient to fight against the Federation. However, I'm more worried about our old nemesis. Although Tang sect's headquarters has been destroyed, their arrogance in Do Spirit Empire is growing rampant. The royal family is pushing us away too. They're instigating the royal family to believe that we had something to do with this war. Whether they are helping the Do Spirit Empire or not will be a point of uncertainty. Actually, we know that nobody can beat the Tang sect in manufacturing good quality fixed soul ammunitions. If the Federation didn't place control over some unique metals, Tang sect would have long ago produced fixed soul ammunitions of rank 9 and above. We're not entirely sure about the depth of Tang sect's inner secrets. The branch pagoda master slightly furrowed his brows. You mean you're worried about Tang sect supporting the Do Spirit Empire? Yes. Although there's no clear indication that such a thing might happen, we have received news that Tang sect members are getting very close to Do Spirit Empire's royal family in these recent months. With Tang sect's access to information, it's only natural that they've notified Do Spirit Empire's royal family about the possible war. This isn't the Federation. Tang sect's influence here is greater than ours. We can't help but lay up against a rainy day. The branch pagoda master nodded. That's a real problem. When are they leaving? If they haven't left, I'm afraid we'll be needing their help this time. We can't go up against Tang sect on our own. The results of the research are basically completed, they will leave after they get the product. We'll clear out every researcher and won't leave any trace behind. The research has finally borne fruit after so many years. I hope that they can treasure it. Truth be told, I don't think that it's good news. If the pagoda master didn't think that we're capable of controlling them completely, that gang of crazy ones is just enough. We shall not discuss that here. Tell our people in Heaven-Do City to keep their eyes open. Have them report any sign of disturbance or trouble to us, especially when there are strangers going in or out of the castle. We'll also report to the pagoda master about our situation here. I'm sure that the Federation will make their move in at most half a year's time. Understood. Tang Wulin walked into Spirit Pagoda and kept his gaze forward. He did not look around. With his spiritual cultivation base, his spiritual power alone allowed him to clearly sense everything around him. After 2 days of studying his new identity, he had basically memorized everything there was to this identity. An executive officer was considered a middle-rank officer in the Spirit Pagoda branch. An executive officer's main responsibility was to deal with trivial matters on a daily basis, which included purchasing and distributing various goods. It could be considered a cushy job, and it was only natural for an executive officer to know a lot of people. His current identity was called Enaijan. Due to his plump build and elemental dragon martial soul, he was called as Little Fat Dragon by the people in Spirit Pagoda. He wore a perpetual smile on his face and looked harmless. For Tang Wulin, it was not a difficult thing to alter his build with Body Sect's secret technique. He had also concealed his cultivation base. He kept greeting the people he met along the way. Because he was always tactful in dealing with others, this little fat dragon was liked by many. According to Enaijan's information and map, Tang Wulin could basically confirm that there was some special underground place. He was not sure if it was a research laboratory, but he had some clues. Tang Wulin was not overly worried about his own safety. As long as he did not bump into a limit dolor, it would not be a problem for him to escape unscathed with his arrangements. There were no limit duluos in the entire Do Spirit Empire. This was also why it was the weakest among the 3 great forces. Its overall strength was not even half that of the Star Luo Empire's strength. Tang Wulin dallied within Spirit Pagoda before returning to his office. He handled a few daily tasks in the way Enaijan taught him. Someone knocked on his door. "Come in," Tang Wulin said with a smile. The door was pushed open and a beautiful lively girl walked in. She looked about 27 years old. Her beauty was above average and her build was gorgeous as well. She had a smile on her face. "Little Fat Dragon, can you help me out?" Tang Wulin quickly searched among the information Enaijan had given him. The identity of this girl immediately surfaced in his mind. She was also an executive officer and was in charge of the Spirit Ascension platform. This meant that she had greater power than HiddenDragon. She was a coquettish married woman who spent her days flirting with others in SpiritPagoda. It was said that she was flirting with a high-ranking officer. Her husband was out of town and thus was not around. Her name was Jiao Feifei. Feifei, what do you want? Tang Wulin looked at the young married woman before him with a fake skittish gaze. However, he had already stood up. Jiao Feifei replied, what else would it be? You know that we need more clothes than others. Give me another 10 sets of uniform. Tang Wulin awkwardly said, Feifei, I don't think that's very appropriate. The uniforms I have with me have been accounted for. You've taken 5 sets the other day. If you take another 10 sets, it'll be difficult for me to explain it to the higher-ups when they come checking. Jiao Feifei walked up to him and pinched the fatty flesh on his waist. She threw him a flirtatious look and said, don't give me that. Everyone knows that you're in full control over the goods here. Quickly do this for me. Tang Wulin looked helpless. Feifei, I really can't. It's not that I don't want to help you out, but... Jiao Feifei humphed and stood with her hands on her hips. Are you trying to play dumb with me? I'm telling you, the Deputy Pagoda Master knows about this as well. Do it quickly or else the Deputy Pagoda Master won't be as easy to talk to if he comes looking for you. Tang Wulin knew full well about why Jiao Feifei needed more uniforms. SpiritPagoda was a very strict organization. Everyone's uniform had their own serial number to facilitate their travels. The possession of a uniform meant that one had an extra identity in SpiritPagoda. She was trying to have secret underhand dealings by accepting outsiders into the Spirit Ascension platform to earn some money. This was not Feifei's first time doing such a thing. However, she was asking for a lot of uniforms this time. Of course, these matters had nothing to do with Tang Wulin. However, he could not hand them over directly. That would have been too obvious. All right. Feifei, but you must help me put in a good word or two with the Deputy Pagoda Master if something happens. Tang Wulin made a helpless face. Jiao Feifei's face beamed with delight. All right. Let's go. This time, it's really from the Deputy Pagoda Master. Otherwise, do you think I'd take that many at once? They are for some guests of honor. There won't be an issue. She hugged Tang Wulin's arm as she said this and rubbed it against her own body. Tang Wulin had to fight back the disgust within his heart. He slightly nodded. You want them now? Of course it's now. Let's go. As she said this, Jiao Feifei pulled on his arm and they exited his office. Tang Wulin was pulled towards the stock warehouse and took 10 sets of uniforms which he then passed to Feifei. Feifei, who are the guests of honor that you mentioned? Tang Wulin ventured with a question. A dash of fear flashed across Jiao Feifei's eyes. I don't know. She clearly unwillingly said these words. It was only natural for Tang Wulin to pick up on that. However, her expression had also increased the puzzlement in Tang Wulin's heart. Who could make a SpiritPagoda executive officer feel this afraid? The change in Jiao Feifei's emotions had piqued his interest. Do you need my help in sending them over? Tang Wulin pointed to the uniforms in her hands. Jiao Feifei replied. Of course I do. Did you plan to let me take all this by myself? If you're coming with me, I'll feel braver. Tang Wulin could be even more certain that there was something wrong about these guests of honor. He followed Jiao Feifei to SpiritPagoda branch's elevator with a poker face. When they entered the elevator, Jiao Feifei pressed the button that represented the lower third ground floor. Tang Wulin felt happy. This was because his very goal for infiltrating was to get to the lower third ground floor. HiddenDragon had been to the lower third ground floor. However, the security there was too tight. Ordinary members were not allowed there. He could only guess that the lower third ground floor was at least 30 meters below the ground. The defense system was the best within SpiritPagoda. Even if a high-ranking Soul Master made it in, it would be difficult for them to escape with life. He never thought that he would have such luck to be able to enter right after he got here. The elevator arrived in no time. The elevator doors slid open with a soft ding. Tang Wulin walked out from the elevator and quietly spread out his spiritual power. Since he was at the lower third ground floor, it should be easier for him to discover the whereabouts of his parents with his spiritual cultivation base. This video will end here. Like video and subscribe to my channel.